I'm going to use this Frontend mentor design to demo. I like to look at the design to see the different viewpoints to get an idea for my HTML. Before I start coding, I need to think about how my HTML relationships impact my CSS layout options. Something that's really helped me visualize these relationships is a tip I got from Kevin Powell. He's a great teacher. Check him out when you have time. Is to use the rectangle tool. So using the rectangle tool, I like to see how the content is grouped together, starting from the outside in. In HTML, there are relationships, parent-child relationships. It helps us determine which CSS layout properties are available for us to use. For example, all this content is grouped together in every viewpoint, so it would make sense if they have the same parent. Another way to think about this is in boxes. If I go into the inspect tool in this new example, under styles, I can find the box model. So the box model helps us determine the dimensions and behavior of elements on our page. Inside, this innermost part is the content dimensions, so the height and width of your text or images. And then padding surrounds it, so if you want to expand the element from the inside, you will add extra padding. And then around that is the border. So the border is like an outline around our element. And then lastly is margin. So margin is the outside space surrounding your element. So think of pushing elements away from each other or moving them closer together with margin. Alternatively, you have box sizing, which will do the opposite of the box model, because the box model will add padding and your border to your content dimensions. Box sizing does the opposite. It will subtract the padding and border from your content dimensions so that you can avoid having your content look bigger than what you've defined. Another quick tip that you may not consider is how all HTML elements have a default display property. For example, divs are always going to be display block, and spans are always display inline, and list items are always display list items. We can overwrite these in CSS, but if you have to do something like change a span from display inline to display block, you might want to ask yourself, is this the right tag that I should be using here? What about overlapping elements or changing the flow of your document? Usually you should use display grid or display flex, but there are times where you can use z-index and the position property. The position property sets how an element is positioned in the document. The z-index sets the stacking order of elements. Let's see what this looks like in code. In this example, we have a UL that is display flex, and I want them to stack on top of each other diagonally. So I'm going to use the position property and z-index to take the elements out of the flow of the document and stack them on top of each other. So I remove the display flex gap justify content from the UL, and I change it to position relative so that the list items will be relative to their parent. And then for the LI, I want to get rid of the flex basis and just give it a width. And I also want them to be closer together, so I'm going to remove the margin, and I'm going to make it position absolute. So all of the LI elements are now position absolute. Next, we're going to go into each LI with first child and nth child. So the first child, I'll set the z-index to 2 and give it a top of 40 and a left of 40 pixels. And we'll just go through each one like that. So the second child will be 60 pixels and it'll have a z-index of 1. And then the third child, we don't need a z-index for the third child, so I'm going to just remove it, and then I'm going to give it 80 pixels. For the last child, it actually needs it's going to be 100 pixels, so we'll start there. and I'm gonna give it a negative z index. But you can't see it right now because the parent is at a z index of 0. So we need to change the parent z index to a -2. Some other position properties that you might be familiar with is position sticky and position fixed. So they look really similar. So to demo this, I'm gonna give the third child position sticky and the last child position fixed. I'll make the UL height smaller so you can see it, and then I'll also give the body a longer view height of 500. So when we scroll, you can see how the position sticky is stuck to the parent and the position fixed is like removed from the flow of the document. It looks like it's scrolling with you, but it's just in the same place. So that was part 1 of CSS layout tips, and I hope that these techniques and tools help you take your design and turn it into code. In the next video, or in a future video, I'll talk more about Flexbox and Grid and the differences between them, like how to use them. So thanks for sticking around. I will see you, well, you'll see me in the next video, and please like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube things. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.